Let's begin in a comfortable seat and making sure that when you're setting yourself up for this seat that you have the ability to access a nice tall spine. So we are looking for a little bit more of that more dignified, almost borderline rigid seat. So adding extra layers underneath your sits bones, whatever it is that you need to do to be able to access that taller spine. So we're going to be doing a little bit of breath work shortly, and that's why we need to be able to access this taller, more dignified state. Where is my timer? There we go. Okay. So as you're settling, just take a few nice deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Perhaps clearing your throat as I was just prompted to do by my body. And just sensing into the way that the breath is moving in your body here, and we're slowly encouraging that container to expand. So sometimes it can feel like the breath is really small and it doesn't go very far in our bodies. So we're just slowly starting to kind of test the limits a little bit. It's like gradually inflating a balloon that was causing trouble at first. And we just slowly creep along, trying to get the lungs to fill a little bit more. Seeking a full breath that just allows us to settle a little more fully into our bodies. And really inviting this idea of silence and space to be a part of your practice as we go along. So there will be gentle movements, all floor-based today, and then we're going to settle into our yin postures. And for our reading this morning, it's a favorite passage of mine from Richard Wagamese's book of Embers. He wrote, "I am not created or recreated by the noise and clatter of my life, by the rush and scurry, the relentless chase, or the presumption that more gets more. No, I am created and recreated by moments of stillness and quiet. I am struck richer by a pure solitude that allows me to feel the world around me and lean into my place in it. I am not the rush of words in my life's narrative. I am its punctuation, its pauses and stops. I am my ongoing recharge. In this silence, I am reborn." So embracing silence, stillness today in our practice, as we often do. And maybe just allowing that awareness to expand so you can immerse yourself in it a little more fully today. And just take a moment here to acknowledge the original caretakers of these lands, to offer a little bit of gratitude for this day, this moment, and this opportunity to connect and share practice together. And if it would feel appropriate to bring hands to heart, either stacking them one on top of the other or forming the Anjali Mudra prayer pose, then letting that happen. We'll formally open practice with the sound of Om 3 times. You may choose to raise your voice in your space or simply allow my voice to enter into your space. Draw a beautiful deep breath in and let it go to sound. Gradually releasing the hands away from the heart. We're just going to do a little massage in and around the eyes and the temples briefly before we do our breath practice. And we're using the knuckles from the first and second fingers, so the pointer and the middle finger. And we're going to turn the palms out so we have better control of those knuckles. And we're just going to start at the bridge of the nose. The middle finger follows the brow line. The pointer finger follows the socket of the eye underneath the eyeball. And you draw from center out to the temple, and then maybe you give yourself a little swirl and massage at the temples. And then we'll come back in and do that again. Hands at the ridge of the nose or knuckles, and then coming out to the temples, a little massage. And you put as much or as little pressure into this as you feel is appropriate. Sometimes a deep, stimulating pressure feels really good. Other times we need something a little bit lighter, almost like a feathery touch. And just do this a couple more times. And then you'll take the hands away. We'll bring the palms together and just start to rub them to generate some heat. And when you feel you've built up enough warmth in the palms of your hands, you'll slowly bring them to cup your eyes. Eyes are closed. And there's this witnessing of lights and shadows, halos that remain, feeling warmth, maybe a bit of pressure. And then little by little, letting the eyes flicker open, you start to see a bit more light. And then we slowly start to bring the hands away from our face, taking in more and more of our surroundings, letting more and more of this muted winter light come into our experience. And then we'll do a little orienting practice, just sweeping your attention off to one side of your space, just noticing whatever it is that comes into your field of attention. That little safety check over your shoulder. And then coming back through, skipping the screen if you can, and shifting the awareness over to the other side. And gradually landing back at center, close the eyes or turn the gaze down for just a moment. Let that practice settle. And then you'll bring your awareness back into your space. We'll do a few little shoulder rolls here. Just taking your time, loosening them off. And make sure you go in both directions. So we just want to make sure there's some mobility in the shoulders before we come into our little breath practice. We're going to do something called the 9-cycle clearing breath. Shake things out, readjust the way that you're seated if necessary. So the 9-cycle clearing breath was developed by one of my teachers, Sarah Powers. She's one of the founders of Yin Yoga. And this basically combines a little bit of the alternate nostril breathing with full breath as well. So we'll use the right hand as the valving mechanism. I'll look backwards to you, but I want to do it in tandem with you. I usually like to intertwine my ring and pinky finger so they stay hooked together. And then either the pointer and the middle finger could rest at the third eye, or you just tuck them into the palm. And then the thumb is free floating. It's our valving mechanism along with the intertwined ring and pinky finger. And the idea is we take a full breath in, we release it all the way out to where you feel the pelvic floor pull up and the belly button draw in towards the spine. And then we breathe in about 3/4 of the way, and then it's a crisp exhale. So out through the nose, drawing everything tight in the abdomen. And we'll go nice and slow through this. So setting up the hand in front of your face, the right thumb will lightly close the right nostril, and the ring and pinky finger will alternate and close the left nostril as needed. We'll take one full breath in and out. Lightly close the right nostril with your thumb. Inhale fully left. Exhale completely. Relaxing the shoulders, tall in the spine. Inhale about 3/4 full. And that crisp little exhale. Inhale fully. Exhale completely. Part way. And out. Last one on this side. Inhale full. Exhale completely. Part way. The crisp exhale. And if there's any lingering air, squeeze it out. Close off the left nostril, open the right one. Inhale fully. Exhale completely. Part way. And the little one. Inhale full. Exhale all the way out. Part way. And the little snap. Last one, full. Total exhale. Part way. And out. Squeeze out any remainder. Hand comes away from the face, both nostrils. In. Out. Part way. And the little squeeze. 2 more like that. In. All the way out. Part way. And a little pump. Last one. Part way. Pump. Squeeze it all out. Take a full breath in, full breath out. And then we're going to hold the breath here if possible, breathing in full lungs. Lightly lift the pelvic floor, tongue to the roof of the mouth. Sip in a little more air if you have room. Keep holding. Exhaling. Inhale to the full lungs. And then we exhale all the way out and we hold at the bottom. Pelvic floor lifts, tongue to the roof of the mouth. Squeeze out a little more air if you can. Breathing in when you need to. And then letting all of that effort behind the breath go, just drop into a natural rhythm. Notice how you're feeling. And we'll just come to take ourselves away from our seated posture. Come over to hands and knees. And let's just flow through a little bit of cow and cat here. Letting the body move in rhythm with the breath. And one more cycle of cow and cat. Allow the body to slide through to a child's pose. Stack your fists so you're making a little bit of a higher column of support for your forehead this morning. And just be with the breath here. And then we'll come up slightly from that child's pose position. Bring the hands in front, kind of suction cupping the palms to the mat. And we're going to do a little twisting child's pose here, or thread the needle. We'll start by taking the right arm and sliding it underneath the left one. And we're going to lower that right shoulder down to the mat if possible. And maybe the left arm just keeps reaching away from you because that's what feels best in your body. The other option is to take your hand, that left hand, and scoop it around into the low back and make a loose fist there. So you might want to take your knees wider. Maybe it feels better to stay closely knit in. I'm a fan of the wide kneed version, so that's what I'm doing. Beautiful deep breaths, just sending them deep into that right shoulder and shoulder blade. A little bit of numbness or tingling in that arm is pretty standard for this pose. We're not here too long. And just keep breathing into those spaces that feel like they're drinking the breath in a little more readily than others. One last breath here. And we bring that left palm underneath the shoulder for some support, pushing up and away from the mat. And you'll just settle back into a child's pose. Maybe it's stacking the fists once again. Maybe it feels better to just keep the arms long. Breathe here, let things recalibrate. And then we'll take our twisting child's pose the other way around. So the hands reaching out in front of us, setting up there first and foremost. And as you're ready, thread that left arm under and create a similar setup to what you did the first time through. And one final breath in your twisting child's pose, and then gradually releasing, bringing everything back to center and settling into that still place to just receive the remnants of the pose. Nice deep breaths. And then we'll come away from the floor and settle ourselves on our backsides. So there's two options here. You could venture into a posture called Deer Swan, where we take the 90-90 bent legs and kind of open them up and then potentially lean forward. If that is highly disagreeable to hips today, the other option is to do butterfly with broken wing. That'll still get into the hip, but there's less pressure through knees and such. Butterfly with broken wing, the feet are staggered one in front of the other, and then there's the option to elevate the foot that's furthest away from you. So I'm focusing on my left hip first, and I'm gonna do that deer swan. So my left knee shin is in front of me. I'm heavy into the left hip, and the right leg is hooking behind me. So choosing the most appropriate setup for your body today, deer swan or butterfly with broken wing, and settling in. It might be you're using block or folded up blanket to support yourself. You could tuck it underneath elbows to raise the ground if you're doing deer swan. You could tuck it underneath the leading foot in butterfly with broken wing to just add a bit of extra stimulus. What's the best choice for you? And then really embracing this idea of stillness and quiet. And we just keep circling ourselves back to breath. Spine softly rounding, no matter the posture you're in. Head hanging if it feels okay for neck and shoulders. Little by little, stripping away layers mentally, physically, energetically. Just breathe and allow. Inviting all those big muscles to take a break. Reminding yourself to soften and surrender as often as necessary. And dedicating 3 more nice deep breaths to your chosen posture. And when you're ready to move, just gradually starting to dismantle the form that you had set up in and find a way into a neutral space. Maybe the beach repose for rebound. Maybe it's just a gentle caterpillar kind of forward fold. We allow things to flood through without interrupting. And perhaps dedicating another breath or two to your rebound space. And then we'll come to set ourselves up into a similar position the other way around. So again, I'm doing that deer swan approach. You might be doing butterfly with broken wing. Finding the appropriate stimulus for your hips, your groin, and then settling in. And there's no rush. We're also being very mindful of the different sensitivities that might be present from one side of the body to the other. So this side might feel a little more easeful, or maybe this is your challenging end. So you need to be a little more with the breath. And it's all about those layers moment by moment, breath by breath, just letting things soften, allowing yourself to sink wherever possible. Spine curling, rounding softly. Head hanging through gravity if it feels safe to do so. Let the body relax into this shape as much as possible. Breathe and allow. And just keep coming back to the breath if you find yourself being pulled away by thoughts or sensations. Acknowledge and return. Dedicating the next 3 breaths to the final moments of your hip opening pose. Using that same slow, mindful exit strategy as you start to release. Dismantling the structure you'd set in your body and just leaning back on the hands here, taking on that beach repose. Maybe the chin is falling into the chest, or maybe you're letting the head drop back because that would feel good. And just abiding by the breath as you allow the body to go through its little reset process here. Feeling into each little pulsation or tingle and noticing how they change over time. And we'll then come to turn ourselves over onto our bellies on the mat. We're going to do a little stint in Sphinx Pose before we come into a supported fish. So as you roll over onto your abdomen, bringing the elbows underneath the shoulder, starting there with a direct line. And just feel into that. This isn't exactly the kindest setup. It's kind of tweaky and it requires lots of effort. And then we're going to draw the forearms and the elbows forward a little bit. So sliding forward probably about an inch or so. So there's this teeny tiny angle between the head of the shoulder and the point of the elbow. And hopefully that allows for a little more ease to let the chest drop. There's less efforting to hold. And we'll rock out through the hips here. Just let the pelvis kind of wiggle and rock side to side on the mat for a moment. And before we go into the fullness of Sphinx, we'll ensure we have this idea of release really tapped into in the body. So we purposely move in the opposite direction and create a great deal of tension, pushing the tops of the feet into the floor. The legs begin to engage, harden up through the abdomen, and even push away from the ground through the elbows and the forearms. Probably feels tough to breathe here. Just feel the little shimmy shake as you're trying to maintain the contraction. Drawing a deep breath in. And as you let it go, let all that effort go. And the body just melts towards the mat. Chest drops between the shoulders, and you can allow the head to scoop down towards the floor if that feels okay for your neck. And the idea is to stay in this surrendered state throughout our time in Sphinx. Maybe letting the awareness just travel with the sensation of breath in your body. Feel this extra feedback from the ground when we lay prone. So maybe just allowing that sense of depth and motion to hold your attention while you're here. Relax your face and jaw. Feel the skin trying to pull away from your bones. Let everything soften. And offering up 4 more breaths to your Sphinx pose. And gently lowering yourself down, coming into prone resting when you're ready. Stacking the hands to support the forehead and just letting your body rest. Being fully aware that There might be some strong sensations building in the low back and the hips after being in Sphinx for a little while. So we just stay for an extra bit of time in the rebound to let the body come back online. Just breathe and allow. We'll slowly come away from the floor and we're going to turn over onto our backs on the mat. So we're setting up for supported fish pose. And you might choose to use block if you know how to do that skillfully, or take blanket or cushion and kind of fold it up to make a thicker support. The block is going to go, or your support's going to go in the middle of the back, kind of where the bra strap would land, underneath the shoulder blades. And we allow ourselves to just arc over it. So you got to make sure you find that comfortable positioning. And if having a big drop back with the head is really not good for you, then have a secondary support underneath your head, like a little cushion, so the drop is less severe. We want to feel spacious across the chest. The support in the spine just underneath the shoulder blades should feel non-invasive. Obviously, you're aware it's there, but it's not a source of discomfort. So adding the supports where you need them. And just letting yourself breathe fully. Maybe come back into the remnants of the 9-cycle clearing breath and draw the deep, deep inhale, and then go to the complete empty of the exhale, where you feel the contraction through the pelvic floor, through the abdomen. Can you allow yourself to rest here? Arms and shoulders relax, face relaxes, breath runs deep. And if you started out with the legs stretching long and that starts to feel like too much, just bend into the knees, bring the feet to the ground. We'll make the next 3 breaths of the releasing variety, in through nose, out through mouth. Being super slow and mindful as you start to exit from the pose. Sometimes it's helpful to grab hold of the edge of the mat to kind of lift yourself up. And you come up high enough to remove the support from underneath your spine and your shoulders, and you'll allow yourself to lower down to the ground. Let's feel into all the different sensations that are presenting themselves. Feel the body getting heavy in that deep release. Maybe it would feel good to let the head slowly roll from one shoulder to the other a few times. Maybe stillness is your best friend here. When we come back to pause and just observe the body. Are you content exactly as you are? Is this how you wish to finish practice today? Do you feel you need some movements or props added? Just exercising the utmost level of care towards yourself as you settle in, taking a little bit of a longer shavasana today. As your precious body settles, as your heart and mind settle, letting the breath flow with natural ease. Toes and feet, heels and ankles become heavy. Calves and shins become heavy. Knees, thighs, hamstrings, all becoming heavier. Your body heavy from the hips down to the toes. Buttocks and abdomen relax and become heavy. A slow sense of weight and release travels up your spine and your ribs, your shoulders and shoulder blades. Torso is heavy. And there's a comforting weight that rests on your chest, keeping you safe and sound, cocooned in. And this releasing weight trickles down the arms, through the elbows and the wrists to the very tips of your fingers, the arms getting heavy. Feel the back of your head touching surface. Head feels heavy. The skin on your face smooths out. Eyes a little more weighted in their sockets. Body heavy and at ease. Just this. Sinking deeper and deeper down. Embracing this time for rest, for quiet. I am not created or recreated by the noise and clatter of my life, by the rush and scurry, the relentless chase, or the presumption that more gets more. No, I am created and recreated by the moments of stillness and quiet. I am struck richer by a pure solitude that allows me to feel the world around me and lean into my place in it. I am not the rush of words in my life's narrative. I am its punctuation, its pauses and stops. I am my ongoing recharge. In this silence, I am reborn. First ringing of the bell brings your awareness back to you. And as you draw your next breath, slowly inviting the body to come away from its deeply weighted state with each inhale, becoming a little bit lighter. As you receive the ringing of the second bell, your attention sweeps through the vitality of breath, the beating of your heart, and perhaps a little bit of quiet that rests in your mind and in your body. And the third ringing of the bell is your invitation back to a fully alert state. Just taking your time as you breathe a little bit deeper and start to bring movement back in, perhaps through wiggling fingers, toes, letting yourself rock and roll around on the ground. And letting it be a purposeful journey as you come away from Shavasana and back to that regal and dignified seat we created at the beginning of practice. And truly taking the time and the care to set yourself back into that place of ease. Softness in the face, the shoulders, length in the spine. Either stacking the hands over the heart, or maybe joining them at heart center in Anjali Mudra. We close with a call for peace, the chant of Om Shanti 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 Om, and then the English spoken word peace. May we cultivate peace deep within ourselves. May we then share that with friends, family, community, and may it echo to the far reaches of the world. Clearing breath in and out. To sound. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om, peace, peace, peace. Thank you for your practice. Namaste.